Welcome to this week's Bright Light Collective community call. This is our monthly open to the free collective. Typically, these calls are limited to the two membership tiers, so either the True Sky Baddies or the Circle of Stars membership. But since we had such an influx into the collective over the last week, I decided to open this up. Also because I forgot to do a free call at the beginning of March. So everything works out the way it's meant to. So I thought I would use today's community call to give a little bit of an orientation as far as what we're doing here for the new members. And to talk about the new moon, because we have a new moon coming up on Wednesday that we are well within the orb of already. We're tying up the loose ends from the last lunar cycle, eclipse season, essentially. So the last new moon started on a solar eclipse. And we're just wrapping up the ends, the loose ends. And it's really fitting, actually, that I've had this influx, this bit of virality on Instagram that was totally unexpected. Instagram, of all places, is like a platform. I mean, I've been on there for a long freaking time, but I was at like 3,000 followers on there since I was doing body positive fitness work like 7 years ago. So yeah, it was this call actually a week ago. It was like me, Meg, I think Rosalie was here. She was doing some art. I think it might have been just the three of us. It was a quiet call. And I was like, a lot of times I just show up to these Monday community calls prepared to, talk about the transits or really whatever, right? Like this is not a guru echo chamber. I can talk for hours, but I like to hear what you guys have to say as well. So we were just talking about conspiracy theories. We were talking about the old world, Tartaria, the research, the inversions, all of that. We were just kind of chit-chatting for an hour. I didn't even end up uploading the recording of it because we were just chit-chatting basically. But after that, so usually after these calls, I have to leave directly after to go pick up my daughter from school. And so I did that. Oh, I was also burnt out because of the freaking time change. Daylight savings is like, ugh. Don't get me started on the circadian rhythms and how we're being attacked in that way. But anyways, I was like sleep deprived, like basically nonverbal, like just fresh off of this call where we were talking about conspiracies. And if you've been checking out the stuff in the Discord, like I've been wanting to talk about the old world stuff for a while, but like it's such a big topic. And it's so paradigm shattering that I have been inhibiting myself because I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to talk about this. But I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So I had like 3 minutes. So I made that quick video that probably everybody here has seen, I would imagine, if you're here. And it blew up. Like it was unscripted. I just like I was just like, here's some things I know. So it got removed. It started to go off on TikTok first, and then it got removed for community guidelines, which tells you that I'm onto something. And then it just like it's still going on Instagram. And so obviously this is a sign from the universe. So this is what I'm supposed to be talking about. Confirmation. This is exactly what happened with the True Sky stuff as well. So I had been sitting on that truth for a while and unsure how to start talking about it because of the stranglehold that tropical astrology has on the spiritual community. So I had I made a hollow bone. I made a TikTok account and set the settings so that nobody could find it that I know. And then I started making content on the true sidereal astrology, and I wasn't doing it for very long until a video went viral in that vein as well. So I'm feeling the same kind of trajectory as far as this stuff goes. So I thought what I would do today, it's been quite a week. I'm like quite burnt out. I'm on my moon cycle. Typically I rest as much as I can as an autistic, entrepreneurial single mother existing in late stage capitalism. It is imperative that I take time to be nonverbal on my couch under a weighted blanket. And especially this week. So if you're somebody who's new here, and you've been observing my behavior online, like antagonizing the trolls in the comments, just know, I know a lot of you know me. I've been in the orbit for some time, so you know that it's me like behind the screen being like, genuinely get a kick out of it. I am the trickster. I am built for it. But I mean, like it probably fueled the fire a bit more that I was like in my luteal, like deep in the luteal, because like I felt felt a little
Do
bit
what you tell me.
I felt a little bit at times I had to be like, Lumi. I felt like I'm like the pit bull that just like won't like let it go, you know? But anyways, there's strategy to that, you know, like the more that you engage with up and coming videos and comments specifically, the more it takes off. But anyways, this has all contributed to me being a bit more burned out than I typically am at this point. But I did want to do this call today and open it up to the collective to just give you all a bit of a taste of who I am and what I'm doing here. Many of you, like I gained like over 16,000 followers on Instagram, people who really resonate with the delivery and the way that I, you know, presented this information. I want to make it abundantly clear that I don't feel like I'm special or different than anybody for coming to these conclusions. It's not like these are my original ideas. I'm just sharing what I've learned. So there's none of this like, come learn from me. I am the exalted guru has figured everything. I don't know. I'm just like you guys, okay? Like I'm just figuring a lot of this stuff out myself. I do have a number of gifts and skills that I am here to share with the collective, and that is really what we're doing here. So I'm getting ahead of myself. I actually prepared a little slideshow for today because I am low on resources, and that's when we get into yip yap, like hour and a half long call territory. So, oh, the link isn't. Oh, I wonder if I.
Yeah, it was, I think, Erica, I think maybe you were the other person who was having a hard time getting in. I had to use like the open Zoom, use the meeting ID and the passcode because the link was just taking me to something that said host is in another call. I was like,
You know what?
Because because Lumi was in another call, and then she came into this this
okay.
one. Yeah.
So this is what happened. Okay, wait, let's just pause this for a second because I'm gonna just post. Can I invite from here? 1 second. Real time invite. I'm just going to copy the link and put it in the Discord and the announcements because I messed up this week because I forgot that I scheduled this as a weekly situation, and then I made another appointment. So hold on a second.
That happens sometimes. Sometimes you have to wait a few minutes, you know, up to 10.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're just figuring this out in real time, homies. Like I'm a human too, you know?
Rosalie, I feel like you and I were synced up last month. My period came a week early. Did anybody else have like early rumblings this month? Just me?
Mine was right on time. Like I follow a pretty 4 week, like a pretty regular every 4 week
I
kind of
usually do
schedule.
too. And then it was like, hey, we have to go out of town. And my body was like, I'm going to give you an entire period in 8 hours. How do you like that, bitch? Yeah, it was terrible.
That sounds like a
Well, I
lot of
thought I was
fun.
dying.
Frick. Okay, we're off to a solid start here. Okay, I got this in the freaking Discord. Okay. Whoops, and now I'm not on the where's Zoom? Okay, yeah. So I mean, like, I feel like this is just a perfect example of how this collective runs. Okay, like, this is my project. I started this community. It is my vision, but like, well, I feel like we're all on the same team here. You know, like, I'm not here to pretend that I have it all figured out. Because really, you know, if there's one thing I have figured out, is that I don't actually know shit. The more I know, the less I know. Kind of vibes. Okay, so now hopefully we'll get some more people in the call. And I would recommend if you're new here to have the chat open, which I'm trying to do here, because we do communicate via the chat. Why can't I? There we go. As well, I also just want to pre-frame here that this is a very neurodivergent friendly situation. So like any and all calls, please feel free to be off camera, like turn your camera off if you're not feeling the vibe of being perceived. There's lots of opportunity for participation, but no obligation for participation. So if maybe I should come up with some sort of symbol as far as like if you don't want me to call on you, like I will leave you alone kind of idea. But yeah, that's what we're doing here. Everything is an invitation. Some of us, at times, you know, like I have to be on camera right now because I'm presenting. But when we do guest teacher things, a lot of time I'm off camera because I don't want to be seen, right? So don't put yourself into discomfort for us. Be comfortable, okay? So what are we doing here? Welcome to the new people. What exactly have you joined? What are we doing here? Okay, so the Bright Light Collective is my passion project. It is a vision that I've had for a very long time. Contrary, so I've been in the game for some time. Okay, like I know a lot of you are coming to this my orbit recently in the last week due to the viral post that I made on Instagram in particular. But I've been in the personal development and spiritual world for some time, and I've always been like oppositionally defiant. So it seems to be my path is like whatever everybody else is doing, I have to do it like the opposite, really hard way. So like everybody and their brother, you know, I've been wanting to do this like low ticket community. Like a DIY enlightenment kind of idea. So this idea that like there's so many people who neurodivergent people in particular who are gifted and have like access to magical capacities that like neurotypical humans don't, because neurodiversity is an extrasensory ability. It is disabling, okay, in a lot of ways, because we are expected to exist in a society that is not built for our extrasensory abilities, but it is also a gift in a lot of ways, okay, if we can harness that. So essentially, what this leads to is that very gifted neurodivergent homies like myself have a lot of ability, and we have like no resources as a result of not being able to interact with the material world in a way that leads to material success, right? So like the typical marketing, you know, for like a spiritual business or like coach is like go for coaching, right? Sell a high ticket, right? Like this is, you sell a package for several $1,000s to a few people. That's how you support yourself. And then, you know, once you get yourself stable in that kind of market, then you can think about doing lower ticket community type stuff, right? And I did that. I have had success doing that. But here's the thing, friends, like there's so many of us like who can't afford a $5,000 mastermind or like even a minimum $1,000 to work with a coach for like a short period of time. And these people need assistance and need to build relational safety and have a space where they can get the information that they need in order to exact some real change in their lives to get into a position where they then have the money to invest in these sorts of things, right? So like I've had this calling for a really long time, like years and years at this point, and just like limited on like how to execute it. And, you know, like looking back in time and like the realizations, the revelations that I've come to through this process, you know, everything unfolds the way that it's meant to. And now I feel like I'm at a point where my understanding of these systems is complete enough to be able to actually share it. But anywho, that's basically what we're doing here. Okay. So the Bright Light Collective, the Discord server especially, is my DIY community. It was a way for me to do this with no overhead costs. Okay, so like a big limiting factor when it comes to building online communities or hosting costs. Okay, you're looking at like a minimum $100 US to host anything on any sort of platform. And when you are a neurodiverse entrepreneurial single mother, like $100 US a month when you're not making any money yet, right? So this is where it started on the Discord. I have, even before this viral moment, I was thinking about moving it to Skool potentially, which is that platform, a newer platform that has come out, and it's a bit easier access. At this point, I'm like still like on the fence if I'm going to move the whole Bright Light Collective to Skool or not, because I do kind of like the renegade kind of like underground nature of Discord. At the same time, I know it has been a barrier because it is a bit overwhelming visually, and like there's like barriers to entry tech wise for some people who maybe aren't familiar with like a setup of Discord. So it's a work in progress as far as that goes. I am going to be reorganizing some of the threads into forums, which I just discovered was a thing this weekend. So we're going to be doing that. And on this note as well, there are some opportunities coming up Just looking at the chat here, Discord feels old school. I like it. Yeah, like I do like Discord a lot myself as well. So I feel like, and like even just seeing how things are kind of fleshing out with my vision, especially the old world stuff and the Tartaria stuff, like it gets shadow banned and controlled a lot on the mainstream algorithms because it is very paradigm shattering to start looking at these things critically. And so having something that is a bit harder to find as far as the mainstream is concerned to talk freely about that area in particular, which is at this point a curiosity for me. It relates to the work that I do because once you realize that we've been lied to and everything is inverted, it makes it a lot easier to reject basically everything that we're taught and start fresh kind of idea. So anywho, we're not sure exactly where we're going with the platform and how it's going to develop, but as it grows, I am going to need some assistance with moderation. I am antisocial, okay? I am autistic, friends, okay? And like, I know I have this community focus, but I am equally focused on being a hermit, okay? In my true sidereal human design, I am a 2-4, which is the hermit opportunist, okay? The hermit networker. So like, I have to spend equal time by myself, not talking to anybody, just the cats, Mackie, as she's a feature of the collective. You'll see her hovering around me basically on every call that I do. But anyway, it's like I need to have that alone time, and I cannot keep up with the engagement in the community. So if you're somebody who likes to engage with other people and are interested in a potential moderation role, there are some opportunities as far as that goes. This is not a paid role at this point, but there are some service trades that are available. So if you're interested in my work or working with me one-on-one and also interested in keeping the community in alignment with the vision and engaging, reach out to me, DM me on Discord or any of the social media platforms. Discord's probably the easiest. My inboxes are annoying and overwhelmed right now on Instagram in particular. So yeah, anyways, reach out to me if you're interested in that. The collective itself is meant to be like a synarchical honeypot. So like the synarchy is the idea that like, we're all different. We all have different things to offer. And when we're really like in attunement with who we really are, we fit together like this beautiful symphony instead of the hierarchy, which is everybody's different. And some people are more valuable than others. So the people at the top of the hierarchy have more power and control and value than the people at the bottom. And we're here to abolish that. Okay. No more hierarchy. We're here for the synarchy. Some people in the synarchy have more power, but that doesn't mean that they are more valuable. Kind of idea, right? So one thing I do not want this to become is just an echo chamber of people who agree with me or teach the exact same things as I do. So the guest teachers are a big part of the synarchy. And also I want to create a space of cross-pollination so that we can all get that bag, okay? We all have different gifts that we can serve the collective with and receive the resources that we need in exchange for that. So this is kind of a testing ground. It's a safe place for you to share your magic and promote yourself. But keep it to the self-promotion thread specifically, and you get what you give, right? So like, yeah, so I'm all for promoting yourself, but if you're just showing up into the collective and you're just trying to sell your shit and you're not actually engaging with anybody or contributing to the collective in any way, it's going to get old fast and I'm probably going to remove you kind of idea, right? So, so that's what we're doing here. If you, really honestly, as far as the guest teachers go, they're people that I have vetted. So either people that I like know from my personal network or Circle of Stars members, because I get to know them a bit more intimately and they, because we're working together in that group setting. So if you are a healer or a mystic and you're launching an offer, you have something that you want to share with the collective, reach out to me. You'll have a better bet of getting on the schedule if you're a member. Okay, so so that's basically the orientation of what we're doing here. And I'm just going to check the chat before I move forward here. See, okay. Why do you have it? Oh, your son, yeah. Yeah, Discord is for gamers, really, is where it has originated. I was in a mastermind a number of years ago that used Discord for a community, and I was like, well, that can work. And then when I was trying to source like free hosting platforms, ChatGPT told me that Discord was the best option. So side note, it's funny, I got an email update from Buzzsprout. Like I used to have a podcast. I had a podcast all through 2021. And I haven't made a new episode in years. And I don't know if it's because of the influx of people on my Instagram or what, but my podcast got like 100 downloads this week. And people were really interested in the episode that I made where I was talking about how I got kicked out of a business mastermind. And it was the one that was hosted on Discord, and they kicked me out because they said I was spiritual bypassing. Okay.
What the fuck does that even mean? What the hell is spiritual bypassing?
So,
What is that?
I mean, if you're really curious, you want the nitty gritty, the episode is on my YouTube as well. I can link it. I'll link it in the Discord maybe. But basically the gist of it is I was trying out titles for myself based on my astrologies, in the tropical astrology at the time. And so like my Chiron is in Taurus, right? And it's conjunct my moon. So basically Chiron in Taurus, this is the same actually in sidereal. Chiron in Taurus is all about self-worth, right? And so like your wounding is around your self-worth, self-love. And so I was like trying to figure out a title, what to call myself. I was like, oh, what if I went by a self-love guru? And all these women, a specific class of women that look like me, jumped on me and told me that I was culturally appropriating the word guru. And I was like, what? Like, I don't understand.
You're not allowed to call yourself teacher because it's in another language?
And you know what is so funny is like I was dating this Lebanese guy at the time who was like, he used to be a DJ in like East Asia, like he would go on tour all over, and like I told him about it and he was like, you know, anybody calls himself a guru over there, the guru on the street, like you walk by him, like he's like, you can call yourself a guru if you want. And I'm like, thank you. But yeah, I was trying to explain myself, and you know, as it goes, a neurodivergent person trying to explain themselves, they made it worse. And I was eventually like the owner of the space like DM'd me, and then we were talking one-on-one. I was like, you know what? I don't know if this is a space for me. She's like, you're a band, and then she made this post about me, and how she kicked me out, and I was like, I left. But anyways, that's how I learned about Discord. And if you want the full scoop on that story, I talk about it for like an hour basically on that podcast episode. But anywho, the age of the dissolving guru. Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of funny because now this is like the big message I've been getting for a while now is like, the age of the guru is over. You know what? I wouldn't want to call myself a guru anyways. So you live and learn. Okay, so on the rest of the agenda for today, I wanted to talk about the true sidereal forecast for the week. The highlight being the new moon that we have coming up on Wednesday. Side note as well, I do full and new moon circles. So they are somatic oriented. We meet, we talk about the themes, we do a little sharing, and then every lunation I curate a specific playlist, usually about 20 minutes or so, where we shake our shit and send it to the moon. These circles are limited to the Circle of Stars membership in an effort to curate a safer space to be vulnerable with a smaller group of people. So if you're interested in getting in on the new moon circle, it's going to be Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Check your freaking time zones because everybody's got daylight savings happen at different times. So I don't know what the time difference is anymore. It's this chat is distracting me today. You guys are funny. I love you. Anyways, that we're doing a circle on Wednesday for the new moon. Open to Circle of Stars. If you're live on the call and you're not watching the chat, you're going to be confused as to why I'm giggling. But Meg's being a silly goose. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about my new project, which is going to be on Skool. And so it's going to be kind of a way for me to try out that platform and see if I want to move the whole collective over there. But essentially the fifth Way Mystery Skool, which is my unique approach to enlightenment, the DIY enlightenment approach, to help get the collective into a state of embodiment so that we can shift the tides. And Meg, you don't have to stop. I think it's entertaining. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. The new moon. Okay, this information as well is included in the lunar calendar. If you are a Circle of Stars member, you have access to the lunar calendar in the ebooks thread, so you can check that out. This was a labor of love. I bit off way more than I could chew with that guide, but I basically documented every single new and full moon for the year of the fire horse in the true sidereal lens. Okay, so the true sidereal astrology lens differs from tropical in that we're actually looking at the sky. So it's also known as alchemical astronomy. So astrology by definition is meant to be the interpretation of astronomy, and this is why I say that tropical or Western astrology is part of the New Age psyop, because it has intellectualized these systems that are meant to be pragmatic and embodied, right? Like the ancients looked at the sky and they knew, they could see where things were in real time. They knew the archetypes of the etheric bodies and the planets, and they knew the archetypes of the zodiacal constellations, the star groups known as the zodiac. And then they knew of Ophiuchus, the 13th sign. So the main difference with this lens of astrology is that you'll see from the outside of the wheel, the zodiac are all different sizes because the constellations are all different sizes. And then we have Ophiuchus down here. Okay, so in the True Sky Baddies tier, the $8 a month subscription, I do a daily energy report. So if you've been following that, you will get a daily snapshot of where things are day by day, the sacred geometry as far as how everything is playing out together. So I don't need to go into too much detail as far as some of the underlying, like the social planets move very slowly. So we've had this kind of underlying picture of cooperation from the etheric bodies, essentially facilitating the movement of the collective from the head to the heart. We're moving out of the old paradigm where we're using the brain and looking outside of ourselves via the external locus of control. And this is where, again, to reiterate, we have to be mindful when we get into a lot of this conspiracy. Anybody who has a better word for conspiracy, I am open to some new terminology here, because there's so much stigma. It's not a conspiracy. Like these things, there's a lot of evidence, okay? But the inversion and the over-intellectualization of our existence, it was a part of the journey, right? Part of the plot. It's all neutral ultimately. So we don't need to fear anything. We don't need to demonize anything, okay? We need the external locus. We need our survival mechanisms, and we need the brain. Sometimes we're in bodies, okay? We need these things, but they have been inverted as far as priority goes. So by nature, the feminine comes first, which is the heart, the receptive force, and then the brain is meant to serve the heart. Okay, but we have it the other way around in our society. We've been given the inversion of look outside of yourself, head over heart, right? Like get your work done. You got to earn your rest kind of idea. And so the overarching themes, or like the waves of energy as far as the planetary bodies and the dance between them, has been facilitating the removal of this old paradigm, right? So all the systems, the institutions, everything that we've been indoctrinated under, basically the entire way that our system is oriented, is around this external locus and using the head over the heart. And so we're seeing the dismantling of this specifically with Pluto in Capricorn. And this is why Pluto in Capricorn is not a bad thing. Pluto in Aquarius was like the first video that I ever had go viral on this topic, and people were so mad because they're like, "Oh, you're just a Debbie Downer. You're removing our hope." Like, one, like astrology doesn't have that much power over you. Okay, like your free will overrides everything. And two, we need Pluto to make its way through Capricorn, because we have to destroy the old system before the new one can come into being. Right. So we're seeing this removal of the old paradigm. And it was really interesting when I was doing the lunar calendar, because I was looking I don't really do too much predictive astrology, to be honest with you, because I'm so grounded in the present moment and I see astrology really as the weather. So I personally feel that like looking too far into the future just reinforces that external locus, because what we think we create, right? So if you're really focused on predictive astrology and trying to plan everything in your life based on this thing that is outside of you, that again is just reinforcing the external locus. But it was really interesting doing this guide, because as I looked at each of the lunar cycles, it's gonna get worse before it gets better, friends. Like, we've got some intense transits coming up this year to facilitate this. And I giggle when I deliver this because you have to be able to like see the cosmic joke in it. Otherwise you're gonna cry and get wrapped up in the emotional butthurtness of the first person experience, right? So anywho, we are moving out of, this is the second moon in the year of the fire horse, the new moon in Pisces on Wednesday, 9:26 p.m. Eastern. So this will be, we're basically right at the apex. We're going to be meeting at 7 p.m. and we're going to be doing the somatic ritual just about an hour before. So it's kind of wrapping up the tail end of the eclipse cycle. The new moon is in the beginning of Pisces. Pisces is a huge constellation. Okay, there's like 40 something degrees in Pisces, and the sun and the moon are meeting at 8 degrees, which is the strength card in the major arcana. I include this interpretation into my energy reports and my interpretation of the astrology, kind of loosely based on the idea of degree theory from tropical astrology and the pattern recognition that I've picked up, because I've also studied the tarot extensively. The tarot, the major arcana in particular, is like the hero's journey, right? So the archetypes of the tarot, of the major arcana, follow a certain pattern, and when you apply it to the astrology, it just adds another layer to it. So if you're new here and you're wondering what the heck this is talking about, the brackets are the tarot archetypes to add another element or layer of archetypal energy to your interpretation. Okay, so the strength card is softness. It is the power of surrender, right? Like on the Rider-Waite imagery, it's like the lion and the lamb kind of idea, right? So it's like this power, the power of really the feminine, right? The 8 is also the higher octave of the fool, or the magician rather. So the magician is the masculine, the feminine is the strength card. So this is the idea that we get what we want by surrendering kind of idea. At the same time, we also have this exact conjunction all week this week. Mercury just finishing its retrograde period and in the shadow of stationing direct. So it like stays at the same point basically this entire week. Curiously, exactly on top of the North Node in Aquarius at 12 degrees, which is the Hanged Man, which is another surrender card. Okay, the Hanged Man is like the Christ consciousness, like the crucifixion energy, right? The power of surrender, the power of acceptance kind of idea. So this like double whammy of surrender, of acceptance, of embracing the totality of your human experience. And this is a big part, this is of what informs my work as well. And the stance that I deliver spirituality through is like, love and light is great in a lot of contexts. But especially if you're a neurodivergent person, like putting on that love and light mask is like a real effort at times. You know, it's not to say that I don't embody that, but like, it's not the persona that I care to be in most of the time, right? So like the acceptance of the totality of your human experience, from that love and light to like the dark and you know, turmoil kind of end of it as well. So like we are here for all of it. With Mercury, like in the end of that retrograde period, preparing to station direct, the North Node being our collective dharma. We also have Mars pretty close by there. So Mars is like the divine masculine as far as the personal planets go. It's the Aries energy, the drive, the doing, desire kind of force. Also in Aquarius, so all this energy around freedom, innovation, revolution, rebellion, you know, against the status quo, and all of this. So these three, the North Node, Mercury, and Mars in particular, are all obviously opposing the South Node, right? So the South Node in Leo is bringing an end to anything that's superficial, right? Like the shadow aspects of Leo is that performative spirituality, performative leadership, egoic leadership, control-based power structures, doing things for the appearance of it, right? So this is why the online space, for those of us who are really sensitive to these themes, like the spiritual influencer bubble, like influencer echelon in general, right? Like people want to listen to people that are relatable to them, right? Like celebrity, look at what's happening with celebrity culture right now. Like all these things that were like shiny and like for us to look up to previously are now starting to appear tarnished, or like we can see the cracks kind of coming through as far as a lot of these superficial structures, essentially. So we've got that going on. The actual lunation itself doesn't have a lot of aspects to it, which is good because there's been a lot of confounding variables as far as the aspect patterns go, but it is pretty close to Neptune and Saturn. So these social planets have been pretty close to each other. They were exactly conjunct for a few weeks in February into early March, again in Pisces. So like the builder and the dissolver in Pisces, the most spiritual, feminine, expansive zodiac sign that there is. So basically this is bringing a certain seriousness or devotion to your spirituality. It is creating illusions at the same time as breaking them down kind of idea. So we have to be mindful of rose-colored glasses or apathy even. This kind of, and as the sun moves into Pisces as well, this time of year is ripe with like distractions, disembodiment, like the idea that we want to get out of the body kind of idea. So these are things to keep in mind with this lunar cycle. The North Node and Mercury and Mars as well are also making a T-square to Lilith. Okay, Lilith is the repressed feminine, the wild feminine. Lilith is making her way through the underworld right now. So Scorpio and Ophiuchus create a death and rebirth cycle. Everything is basically transformed when it passes through this part of the sky. And so Lilith basically is the reclamation of the natural order of creation with the masculine serving the feminine. This is not to say, it's nothing to do with gender either. The patriarchy doesn't benefit men either, right? Like everybody is disadvantaged with the inversion of the natural order. So this is basically what we're seeing is like the reclamation of the feminine as the center, the masculine doing, drive, energy, serving that. And yeah, that's basically the gist. I'm like, I don't like I read any of these notes. That was just me riffing. So let me just see. Yeah, basically dissolve the illusions, see through the truth, and redirect yourself towards the future. Within the realm, so like, you know, the themes of Pisces, femininity, receptivity, receivership, the embracing of like the flow state and what is underneath. So more spirituality, the path of surrender kind of idea. So I'm like, we're at 12:45, right? Does anybody have any questions at this point as far as this information or reflections that are coming to them before I move on into the next thing? Everybody just wants to hear me yap today. Okay. No questions. You can, you know, especially if you're in Circle of Stars here as well, I do tend to info dump, so insights can come later. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share your chart in the Circle of Stars chats. Oops, what am I doing here? Okay, and so then the other thing that I wanted to preview today is my new offering. Okay, so who here on this call, you can just virtually raise your hand or you can pop it in the chat. I wasn't looking at the chat. Who here is familiar with the fourth way? Erica, we're just trying to catch up on what's going on here. You guys are hilarious. Okay, so the fourth way is something that informed a good part of my spiritual awakening post-COVID. So like during the early part of COVID, I just went full in as far as my esoteric studies, and I found a teacher teaching the fourth way. And I found it to be hugely beneficial, but also incredibly complicated. And recently, actually, on last week's guest teacher call, okay, so Jess, one of our Circle of Stars member, led a session last week, and she also learned the fourth way, actually from the same teacher that I learned from. And she referred to, like, when she was telling kind of her origin story as far as her business, the Beloved Way. And she was saying how she had asked, like, what is the fifth way? Because she found the fourth way just like kind of clunky, right? And I was like, oh, it is the fifth way. Like, it is the fifth way. And it's basically the easy way, right? The way to distill all this intellectual information. And so I had like let that simmer in my being for a while. And then with this influx into on Instagram and all these people asking me, like, how do we take our power back? How do we take our power back from the external locus, right? And it's like, this is the way kind of idea. So I messaged her to be like, were you planning on using the fifth way? Because I think it's great. And she gave me her blessing to use it as far as the title. But this is an idea that's been percolating in me for some time. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a background as far as the philosophical underpinnings of the fifth way and what we're going to be doing. This is also the core really of what we're doing with Circle of Stars as well. The Circle of Stars is kind of my introductory mystery school experience. Right now, it is centered around the true sidereal 13 sign astrology, because that's what I've been teaching primarily based on my virality on TikTok a year and a half ago now. But I've been feeling like I want to branch out into some of these other things. So if you're in the Circle of Stars, I'm going to start teaching some of these concepts, and you're going to be the first to get access to the school when I have it ready to go. But I wanted to give you some of the backstory without going too far over the time for this call. So essentially, to understand how I got to the fifth way, you have to understand the context through which I grew up in. So I grew up fat and weird in the 80s and 90s, undiagnosed, autistic. I was like an obese little child because binge eating was my first addiction. I was a latchkey kid in the 80s and 90s. My mom worked really hard and I spent most of my time by myself, right? So lots of like craft dinner, pizza pockets, these sorts of things. And then that binge eating led to drugs and alcohol. Also, like, just never fitting in. Like, the bad kids were the only ones that, like, accepted me, really, right? So, like, that's where the addictions came in. I went wild, really wild for, like, the first, I don't know, couple decades, right? Like, my late teens and early 20s. And then I decided, I better get back on track, and decided I was going to go to school. So I started university at 23, originally double majoring in history and English because I wanted to be a teacher. And because it runs in my family, mom, aunts, everybody, all the women in my family were teachers. Then first year, I took psychology and sociology as breadth requirements, and I got like 90s in both of them. So I was like, screw this history and English. Like, I'm going into psychology and sociology. So I did a double major for a year, and then I decided to go into the honors in psychology because there was more career opportunities. What? I ended up going through my divorce. I was married at the time as well, and my daughter was quite young. And it was really my foray into humanistic psychology. So like psychology in its root was actually philosophy, right? So like Carl Jung, Maslow, like Rogers, all these early thinkers. It was more about the collective unconsciousness and like the mystical kind of element of psychology. And then it was mechanized basically and turned into the medical model and the intellectualization and pathologizing of basically everything. But that was the beginnings of my spiritual awakening, was like humanistic psychology. And then I got into positive psychology and realized, like, FYI, positive psychology they only started studying what made people happy in the 90s. And it's like, there's only like this much research on what makes people happy. Everything, all the rest of psychology is like what's wrong with us, basically, right? So I realized that I was doing nothing that would make me happy and changed a lot of my behaviors, but that led to my marriage falling apart, right? And so at the end of my degree, I was doing writing my thesis on positive psychology and different uses of humor, and my marriage fell apart. And wouldn't you know, even though I'd spent $40,000 and I was on the dean's list, I could not get a job with my degree because you need like a master's or your PhD to do anything with it. So that's how ended up getting into fitness. So I was working out at a chain gym here in Canada, and I saw an ad for their personal training institute, and I was like, you know what, I could do that. I'd lost a lot of weight myself at that time. So I got into fitness, and then I did that for like a decade. I was pretty successful at it because I was relatable, because I had been morbidly obese and people wanted to work with me because I had the firsthand experience of what it was like to lose so much weight. So I did that. I had imposter syndrome when I started, so I became hyper fixated on how the body works, right? Like all these different certifications on posture, how the fascia work, like corrective, like getting everything like in the body in like perfect shape in order to build muscle or lose fat kind of idea. And then also the interplay with the mind, right? So I was like life coaching my personal training clients and using the psychology as far as that goes. Behind the scenes, I had like a really successful career doing that. But behind the scenes, I was an alcoholic and a drug addict because I was still undiagnosed neurodivergent at this time. And as you can probably imagine, those secret addictions that I had ended up hemorrhaging and like causing some really big issues in my life. And then I had a friend also pass away like horrifically from cancer, like watching her go through the allopathic system. And all of that was enough to wake me up, and I got sober, like 2017, 18. And that's when the spiritual stuff really just started steamrolling in once I wasn't numbing myself to that degree, right? So at that point, I started learning about the various systems. This is kind of around the time of COVID as well. Like I left the fitness industry for a while, decided that I needed to go back into fitness because I couldn't support myself working in a restaurant and selling kombucha for like a little startup here in the city I live in. So I got back into the fitness realm right in time for COVID to happen. And then we all know what happened with that period of time. So that though set the stage because I was sober at that point. And then I had all this time because I was getting like the CERB benefits. The Canadian government was giving out money during that period of time. So I took it. And then I learned about human design. I learned about the gene keys. I learned about the Hermetic principles, the fourth way, tarot, numerology. And then the astrology was actually the last piece. And the astrology, when I started to learn it, everything else felt really intuitive. But there was something really mechanical about the tropical astrology that I just couldn't figure out. And then I started to become interested in the old world stuff and got into that research. And there was a period there where I was like really into the old world and I was questioning everything, but my ego still wouldn't let me see the truth about astrology because my business was based around it. But eventually that broke away, and the true sky made itself known. And then I've been working with this essentially. But this essentially is like the philosophy, all these different areas of study, and then like implementing it. Okay, so I would learn something, I would have a download, I would find the information in the physical world, and then I would do the practices, right? And essentially what I started to notice through all these different traditions is that ultimately it all boils down to getting the body to calm down and then turning your attention inwards to reclaim your authority, right? We have to move from the external locus to the internal locus. So if you do this with enough persistence and practice, calm the body down and look within, you're gonna develop a connection to source that is personal and undeniable. And then from there, like there's a lot of different things you can use as tools, right? And this is the primary issue with modern society is that we get caught up on the tools, right? So the four traditional paths to awakening, as far as like where the fourth way, where the name is coming from, is that you basically have to focus on one of these areas, like the body, the mind, or the heart, essentially. Or the fourth way was marketed as the way of the sly one, where you're using your brain basically to override the body, the mind, or the heart kind of idea, right? So the way of Fakir is discipline, endurance, like purification of the body kind of idea. The way of the monk is devotion, surrender, faith. All of these, you have to give up part of the human experience, essentially. You have to focus on mastery of this one specific area in order to achieve enlightenment. The way of the yogi is the mastery of the mind, right? Meditation, philosophy. And then the fourth way really is revolutionary in a lot of ways, as it is like, as it says here, the awakening within ordinary life. So the whole concept within the fourth way is to become the conscious observer of yourself, detach yourself from the first person experience, and watch the patterns playing out. However, it is complicated as heck, okay? Like, just to give you an example, this is some of the visuals from the fourth way, right? So the Enneagram, the law of octaves, the law of three, the law of octaves and the law of three fit together with linear time to create the Enneagram. You've got all this information on the laws and like how they relate. You've got the different sections of the mind, like the instinctual, the habitual, like it's very intellectual and it's very complicated, and it can basically just, so it's a lot of math. There's actually 3 ways to learn fourth way. The 3 universal languages are math, music, and color, right? And like the teacher that I learned from did it in the math-oriented way, which is not the kind of autism that I got. Like I resonate more with the sound and colors way of teaching it, but it's really complicated. Now, for me, as somebody who learns systems easily, this is why in that freaking video I mentioned as the hook that I'm an autistic polymath and my IQ is 160. Like, not to be like, I'm better than everybody, but like, this is just what I'm designed for. Like, my brain can perceive and comprehend these systems. And like, I'm sure that it's also generational or inherited knowledge as well, because like I just have all the systems, human design, gene keys, astrology, the fourth way, the tarot even, it's like, I'm not really learning them. It's like when I expose myself to these things, it's just like remembering it. Like I already have a schema for it. But anywho, the point is that this stuff came really easy to me, and I was able to like pull the threads out of it. So like find the common threads between all these different systems that again can get us caught in the mind trap, right? Of like intellectualizing like, oh, I have to do this, or oh, I need to do this, or like even the different human design, astrology, we have to be mindful that we're not getting caught of locking ourselves in a box of like, I'm this type, I have to do this, right? So it's like kind of switching the locus again and being able to use these things as tools, but ultimately they all point us in the direction of calming the body down and turning your attention inwards, understanding that everything is you in another body, and the forgetting of that is intentional in order for you to have the experience, right? So if you can just continually remind yourself of that, you can start to see everything as like a game, right? A game of potentials, which allows you a greater bandwidth because you're not emotionally reacting to everything. You're seeing everything as neutral. This opens up your bandwidth to be able to perceive creative solutions that you can't see when you're reacting to things in a first person type of way, right? So this is the major problem with modern spirituality, right? We have so much, nobody needs more information. Nobody needs more information, okay? Nothing that I'm presenting here is new information. I am presenting a simplification of embodiment of the information. This is the rub, right? Because there's so many different, like everybody out there is sharing their perspective, right? You can find any information that you want through various AIs, through social media. And people are more confused than ever because there's conflicting information. What do I believe? What is true? What are the sources, right? But ultimately, it's all the external locus, right? The guru culture, the rigid belief systems, spiritual ego, like over identification, endless healing kind of idea, right? Information overload. But the deeper issue is that, again, it's putting our authority outside of ourselves, and these systems that are meant to be tools are becoming the authority, right? So we need to take our power back from these things by going from the head to the heart. And then when you're operating from the heart space, this is where the self-regulation, the self-authority, the knowledge of self really comes from. And then you can choose the tools, the various different options that you have to use as confirmation as far as your own inner knowing. But your inner knowing comes first over everything, even what I'm saying, right? I'm not your guru. I am just you in another body presenting you with this information. So that's basically what the fifth way is. So it's taking all of these different systems and presenting it as the way of the embodied mystic, also the no nonsense way of the neurodivergent one. Okay, like it's essentially a synthesis of my, like, the last 20 years that I've spent learning how psychology, the body, the mind, and the embodiment of these different traditions come together to calm the nervous system down, so calm the body down, and then turn your attention inwards, and then using the various systems as tools. Essentially, starting with the astrology, will remain rooted in the true sky because it's basically like the weather. But again, even the astrology is just a tool, right? We can't get dogmatic about it. We have to accept different perspectives. Although, you know, as far as the collective goes, we're not talking about tropical astrology in here. Right? It's okay if you practice it on your own, but I'm not reinforcing that false light matrix, essentially. But anyway, yeah, so this is basically something that it's been percolating in me for some time. And since I've had so many people on Instagram asking me like how I did it, we're going to come out with the system. It's going to be a membership-based type of situation. I want it to be affordable, probably on the same kind of idea as far as Circle of Stars goes. It might even just kind of melt into that. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys as far as what the collective is, what we're doing here, and the direction that my work is going to be moving. Does anybody have anything that they want to share? Does anybody have any questions or anything that came up during my little ramble? Erica.
I have a question. Hi, I'm new. So I'm just trying to digest the sidereal, how do you say it? Sidereal astrology. So just trying to really unlearn or, yeah, integrate. But I did have a question. So if you do so does that change your human design as well?
Sure does.
Okay.
Yeah, there's and this is where Discord is like a little annoying because it's kind of hard to find things once they've been posted.
Yeah, Discord is very difficult for me, but I'm learning how to navigate that as well. But I'm gonna do it. It takes a minute.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll post it if I forget. Just remind me because you just joined Circle of Stars, right? I saw. Yeah. So I'll post it in the Circle of Stars chat, the link to, before recently it was difficult to get your true sidereal human design because you had to like manipulate genetic matrix software, but Bodygraph recently came out with a lens that is through the midpoint system and is a creator that has a free chart generator that you can use.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, I'd be curious.
Yeah, because it changes, because it's rooted in astrology, right? Like human design and Pisces are both rooted in that. So like I've worked with 3 versions of my human design at this point. The tropical one, like a westernized sidereal, and then the 13 sign midpoint system sidereal. And with each shift, it's just like a knob gets a little bit more resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, I would love to see that just to help with the digestion.
Yes, yeah. And remember too, so the other thing that is important with this kind of unraveling from the tropical programming is like understanding that there is no wrong or right. And ultimately, we are all of the archetypes, right? Like we are every zodiac, we're every energy type and profile line in human design. We have access to that. And it's almost like each of these different versions of the chart are different modes of operation through different phases of our development, right? So like the tropical will resonate in a lot of contexts, and so with the true sidereal. And it's not about pushing yourself to be one or the other. It's about choosing what parts resonate, right? Because ultimately it's all about the internal locus and you using these as tools for confirmation of who you really are. So if some days you feel like the tropical, that's just where you're at. And if some days you resonate with the sidereal, or even little bits of both, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think the most interesting thing for me, just in discovering the human design. I mean, I'm a December Capricorn tropically.
Yep.
Um, and my whole rest of my family is January Capricorns, which is funny. But my Sag rising tropical wise. And so anyway, I've always had sort of a bit of a conflict about that anyway. And then but then looking at the human design, there was so much about it that gave me like, sacral authority and like needing to just have a moment to digest information. This kind of thing was what I internally felt like I needed, but then to be able to have that confirmed through that, like just another validation, because again, like you say, it's very hard to find people to connect with who have similar sort of challenges, and everybody wants to be, like you say, fitting into, in just my experience, everybody wants to, like, it's that, what is that called, confirmation bias. They just constantly want to have that instead of actually exploring, like, because during COVID, what I started was just like every day checking in with my body, like, what would bring you great joy? Would it be, having a coffee this morning, or lemon water, or tea, or, but all day long?
Yeah.
Like what, like not just like what I was drinking. It was just like every moment of the day. And that kind of started my journey, but it's a lot of responsibility, right? So anyway,
Yes, I
thank
love
you.
that. Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's so great to have you here and to hear your perspective. And like that really is what we're doing here. Like we're on this like breadcrumb trail to get us to remember that it's all us, right? Like when we follow our joy, and I love that, like every single decision, like, is this bringing me joy or not, right? And like sometimes you get to a point where like it's no and no. Like as far as the options go, but like which one brings you the most out of those two, or can you shift your perspective, right, as far as deciding that you're going to feel joy from a situation that wouldn't bring you joy necessarily, kind of idea, right? And this is how we shift reality, is by shifting that locus of control from the external to the internal. And when that becomes normal, uh, then you become like the conscious curator of everything that you're doing. So
Right. And but the well, what I find is a lot of times people don't want that responsibility,
yes,
because
well, yeah,
then they can't blame and be a victim anymore.
yeah.
Then it's like, oh no, this was all for me.
I did this. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. And it's hard, I'm casting spells on myself. It can be challenging to express these ideas in certain, even spiritual groups, right? Because they don't want to accept that responsibility, because responsibility from the external locus is blame, right? And so responsibility from the internal locus is empowering, right? It's like I'm responsible for this. I'm creating this, and I did it, and I can do it differently, kind of idea. And it all has to do with the locus of control. Same
Yeah.
energy, blame, empowering. So I love it. This is what we're doing here. So I have
And
to,
also, I'm in Hamilton. I just wanted to say
oh,
that
that's so
was like,
cool. You're just down the road
yeah,
from me. Yeah, I'm in London.
yeah,
So that's so
yeah.
funny. Yeah.
And speaking of breadcrumbs, just one last thing is that I don't know if you can see here, but you have an elephant that's almost exactly like mine.
Oh, I can barely see yours.
Yeah, it's orange, but
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, I can see it.
your
Yeah.
elephant on your hand was all is like so close to mine, and I was like, oh my goodness,
Like,
I
this
have
is
to just follow this trail. So that was pretty cool.
I love it. Well, you're just down the road. I'm going to be starting to do some in-person stuff over the summer as well. So stay tuned because I'll have some
Yeah, that would be
in-person
awesome.
opportunities around here. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Well, I'm so glad to have you here, and like a Southwestern Ontario homie. And this is how we do the work, right? Like we just
Yeah.
follow that breadcrumb trail, and it'll connect us with those who we're meant to align with. So I do have to be mindful of the time. I have another appointment coming up shortly.
Yeah.
But I just want to offer, like, is anybody else who's still here live have anything that they want to express or throw into the circle before we close it for today? No, it's feeling complete. I love you guys. There's like little actions on Zoom that like I accidentally gave a thumbs up somehow while you were talking.
we try.
Oh,
We try anyways.
But
Get to it.
yeah, it measures. If I do this one, it'll do. This is our like end of call tradition.
Yeah, mine never works.
All right, homies. Well, so nice to connect. Thanks for receiving my yap for today. Stay tuned for more details as that unfolds, and I'll see y'all in the server. Toodles!